I'm Eric Anderson. This is KPBS Evening Edition. On this Labor Day, we'll check up on the health of California's job market. There's a new report from the California Budget Project saying that the number of jobs is up, but many of them pay low wages. We'll hear how those numbers stack up here in San Diego. San Diego's bike-sharing program has been on a seemingly perpetual kickstand. The start date was pushed from March to May to August and now delayed again. We'll tell you why. And KPBS premieres a local documentary about San Diego's role in the lowrider movement, what filmmakers say about the car's impact on cultural identity. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Dwayne Brown is off tonight. State representatives wrapped up their legislative session on Saturday. KPBS Metro reporter Taryn Mento tells us about some of the bills that local lawmakers sent to the governor's desk during the final legislative week.
Hundreds of bills currently await Governor Jerry Brown's signature. Here are some of the bills that came from San Diego's lawmakers. There's Assembly Bill 922, authored by Brian Mainshine from San Diego. His bill would allow San Diego County residents who suffered damage to their homes during the May wildfires to claim a deduction on their tax return. San Diego Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez has sent quite a few bills Brown's way, but most notable is her sick leave legislation. If the governor signs it, which is expected, employers would be required to provide at least 3 paid sick days per year. Assembly Speaker Tony Atkins, who also represents San Diego, also put multiple bills before the governor. Most recently, one that would ensure a transgendered person's identity is reflected on his or her death certificate. Coming from the Senate, a bill authored by Marty Block would speed up the time it takes to get water quality results back. And earlier in August, Block's bill that would allow community colleges to give out 4-year degrees also moved onto Brown's desk. Alpine Senator Joel Anderson authored a resolution urging President Obama to speed up the refugee process for displaced Iraqi Christians. Also awaiting the governor's signature, Anderson's bill that would ban the state from helping the federal government collect info on Californians without warrants. Brown has until the end of September to sign remaining bills into law. Legislature is back in session in December. Until then, you'll see many of the state's lawmakers on the campaign trail before Election Day, November 4th. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
People who've taken a dip in the ocean lately may have noticed that it feels a bit warmer than usual. Well, that's because it is a bit warmer than usual. KPBS reporter Susan Murphy tells us temperatures have hovered about 5 degrees above average the entire summer.
San Diego's unusually warm ocean water is the result of a lack of winter storms for the past 2 years that would normally cool the surface of the ocean. It's also due to very weak winds patterns. The lack of wind has reduced coastal upwelling. That's when warm surface water is swept offshore and replaced by cold water from deep below the surface. That cold water is rich in nutrients and supports the ecosystem. Nathan Mantua is a research scientist with NOAA's Southwest Fisheries Science Center. He says the upper 200 feet of water along much of the west coast is 5 to 7 degrees above normal. He says it's causing big impacts on marine life, from microorganisms to large mammals.
So it impacts the whole marine food web because it can favor different species of plankton, mostly the warm water favoring very small, sort of low lipid, nutritionally poor plankton species, and that is important for all the things that feed on the base of the food web.
Mantua says the warm water is also changing fish communities. Subtropical fish like yellowfin that are normally found off Mexico this time of year are being caught right off of San Diego and even farther north. He says the warm water is not related to El Nino. If a strong El Nino does develop, Mantua says it will likely warm a much thicker layer of the ocean and spread the warmth hundreds of miles offshore. Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
San Diego's bike-sharing program was supposed to open by March of this year, but it has been repeatedly delayed, with a rollout now pushed back to November. KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser has been following the story and joins us now. Claire, first tell us what bike sharing is all about.
It's a program that lets people rent a bike from a checkout station, ride it wherever they please, and then return it to any other station. They pay either $7 an hour, $15 a day, or $20 to $30 for an unlimited monthly membership.
And what's happened to the program?
It was originally supposed to start by March of this year. Then it was delayed to May, and then again to the end of the summer. Now it's been delayed once again, with the city of San Diego saying it'll be ready by October 30th.
And do you know why the program has been delayed so much?
I spoke with Bill Harris, a spokesman for the city, and he says it took longer than expected to work with communities on where to put the bike rental stations. These spots are not always owned by the city, so they have to get local businesses and communities to host the stations. In May, a map was posted online of proposed locations for the stations, but now that's been taken down. Harris also says that Pacific Beach and La Jolla won't be included in the first phase of the program, whereas they were originally going to be included.
And is the city paying for all this?
No. San Diego is partnering with a company called Deco Bike, which will supply the bikes and checkout stations at no cost to the city. The company will take a chunk of the profits from the bike rentals.
KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser. Thanks, Claire. A report is out this Labor Day that gives us an in-depth look at California's job market. Amitha Sharma has details.
California has now recovered the jobs that were lost during the Great Recession, but the recovery may be only skin deep. The state's job seekers still aren't seeing the kind of labor market that existed before the recession started in 2007, according to a report released today by the California Budget Project. And people aren't earning what they need to keep up with inflation. Peter Kallstrom, president of the San Diego Workforce Partnership, is here to talk about the labor market locally. Let's start with the good news.
Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day. Statewide, the number of people applying for each available position is down. Is San Diego seeing the same phenomena?
I would say yes, but it's still very, very competitive. There's so many people in our local labor force who are looking to get back into the workforce that there may be fewer because more people are back to work, but it's still very competitive.
And what sectors of San Diego's economy have benefited the most from the economic upturn or the recovery?
You know, we're such a vibrant and large economy in the region with 3.5 million people in our county and 18 cities. So it really is across the board that we've seen benefit because of our innovation sector is big, tourism is huge, and the military impact is also very big. So those drivers of the economy have really impacted the work and the opportunity across the board. So we've really seen it pretty consistently across all sectors. It really comes down to a matching of what the employers are looking for and what skills the workers have to offer. So that's where we come in at the Workforce Partnership, because the dollars we receive, public dollars from Department of Labor, allow us to fund the Career Center network. And then it's free to the public. They can come in, get new training, and get a new skill so that they can get those jobs that are in demand.
Now, one of the troubling facts to emerge from this report is that unemployment remains high among long-term jobless people, jobless workers. So has that been matched here in San Diego?
It's an absolute huge concern, and across the country. The folks who have been unemployed beyond 6 months fall off their benefits. And Congress tried to get that extended, but unfortunately it didn't get passed. So when people have been unemployed for that length of time, they disappear from the ranks, and that number that gets reported publicly, which now in our arena is about 6.5% to 7%, depending upon the month. So it's come down a lot in the public report, but the long-term unemployed is of great concern to us because the longer people are unemployed, the harder it is to get back into the workforce. A bit of a stigma can come with that because employers will look at that applicant differently, perhaps, unfortunately. But that's, again, where we come in because we can help people retrain, refine their resume, refine their interviewing skills, and open them up to new opportunities that are in our region. And to your other point, too, around the jobs in our region, we put out reports as part of our work. We do labor market information studies, look at all the sectors across the region. And just recently we put out our in-demand jobs report. It's available to the public on our site, which is workforce.org, and that looks at our entire region and those jobs that are of most demand by our employers and what it takes for the applicant to get those jobs, what kind of skills are needed, the educational background, and what those jobs pay. So we're looking at that work constantly, and then we put it in the hands of the job seeker and the employer so that we can match people up and get people from those lower wage jobs or unemployed to middle class or higher class.
One of the biggest trends that we're seeing throughout this recovery, we've seen it nationally, the CBP report confirms this, is that there's this issue of wage stagnation among middle wage earners, and that's those people who earn $15, between $15 and $30 an hour. Right. What's the status of that here in San Diego? I
think that's reflected here as well, because the higher wage jobs are strong because we have such a high-tech area here with Qualcomm and other great companies in our region who are able to pay and need to pay those really high wage jobs to retain that kind of talent. And then with the tourism and other service sector that we have, the hotel motel industry and so forth, there's a lot of lower wage positions, so we have a real bell curve of a local economy. And to get folks more into the middle class is really a great focus of ours, because again, the lower wage positions are a start. We don't want people to stay there, but you only go from there to the middle class and better jobs through training, through skills.
And so on the subject of lower wage, as you know, the San Diego City Council hiked the minimum wage to $11.50 per hour by January 2017. There's now a petition that's circulating to put the issue to voters. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm glad that this has been such a public debate, and I really want the public to really think about this very deeply beyond some of the political statements on either side, because what do we need to do in order to spur our economy and benefit the worker is really what everybody cares about. If the minimum wage goes up to whatever dollar amount, we have very different opinions around it will hurt the economy or lose jobs, or it will add more purchasing value in the economy. What I do know and believe is that we need to be in a different place. What that magic number is, I don't know, but we have to be able to bring up folks to a sustainable and living wage. What that is what the public really should think hard and long about, because if we don't bring people up, we have people in poverty, we have fewer dollars in the economy for purchasing power, and how do we get people from working in poverty to working to have their own way of making it.
And we've got to leave it there. Peter Kallstrom, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Coachella Valley High School has retired its Arab mascot. Now, on Friday, the school's football team played its opening season game without the controversial mascot. Belly dancing genie has also been retired. The Arab American Discrimination Committee last year complained that the mascot was a harmful form of ethnic stereotyping. The Desert Sun newspaper reports the school will still use the Arab's nickname, but it removed the Arab face from its logo. Find a stick and a ball, close off some of Little Italy's streets, and bring in out-of-towners from New York City. Those are the essential ingredients for San Diego's annual Labor Day Stickball Tournament. Stickball was born in New York City, where neighborhood kids adapted baseball to work on a crowded street. The version being played in the San Diego tournament is from Brooklyn. Louis Centani says there are no pitchers.
So you bounce to yourself, you pitch to yourself, and then other than that, you run the bases like baseball. You field your position like baseball. You throw runners out, get force plays, fly balls, all that. You can play the ball off trees and off of buildings.
Players use pinkies, a squishy racquetball type ball. Hit it squarely and it flies. A tad off center with the 2-inch thick bat, and the ball wobbles weakly down the street. The ref scratches the score on the street with brightly colored chalk. Fielding and hitting are important, and so is trash talking.
Oh, yeah, I told you! 2 innings and you're done! That's California's memo!
This is a game of trash talk, and it comes from neighborhoods in New York, Bronx, Manhattan, Brooklyn, where guys would just try to get in each other's heads and psych each other out. And so on the West Coast, a lot of us come from a baseball culture where it's a gentleman's game, and you don't do that trash talk. So it's kind of new for us to learn how to give it and how to take it.
There's 2 outs. You think you can bring your team up? No, you can't.
13-year-old Caleb Blass is a fast learner. His dad plays for one of the San Diego teams.
That team that we're playing, we've known them for a while, and I just kind of get in their heads, and they get really mad. Yesterday, I got one of them to break one of their bats, so yeah.
Now, 2 San Diego teams and 2 New York teams made the semifinals. Both of the San Diego squads advanced to the championship game, and the Fish Sticks were winners. They won 6-3. Tomorrow night, there is a rare look into San Diego's lowrider history with the KPBS TV premiere of Everything Comes from the Streets. The award-winning documentary features intimate interviews and rare footage of the lowrider movement here in San Diego. After filming wrapped up last year, Peggy Pico spoke with the filmmakers about the movement's impact on self-expression and cultural ingenuity.
You've probably seen the artistic paint jobs, custom details, and pumped-up frames that transform vintage cars into lowriders. They're popular at car shows, and there's even a song about them. And now there's a new documentary that includes San Diego's impact on the lowrider movement. It's called Everything Comes from the Streets, featuring some pioneers of the car craft.
Lowrider to me is a self-expression of the ideas and the style that you like. And lowrider to me is an individual pride.
Joining me are USD's Ethnic Studies Chair and the film's director and co-producer, Alberto Polito, and the film's co-producer and co-founder of Amigos Car Club, Rigo Reyes. Thank you both so much for joining me. Alberto, let's start with you. Why did you want to do this project? There's been other documentaries done. What was it that made you want to do this one?
We really wanted to tell the story of San Diego and the important contributions that the region of San Diego, the borderlands, have made to the lowriding movement.
In Rigo, you've made those contributions. You have been a lowrider for 35 years and still are a lowrider. What attracted you to it?
Mainly living in the barrio. Some of the older guys would drive around the neighborhood, and it really attracted me to them. And ever since I saw my first one, I fell in love with them, and I've been at it ever since.
Was it somewhat of an alternative to maybe a different lifestyle, a life that was a little bit more not legal?
Definitely. For us, it was sort of like an alternative to a barrio lifestyle that could be very dangerous. So for us, it was sort of like an outlet where we could focus on something very positive, do something very positive, work with your hands, and keep your mind out of trouble.
And very creative. How have things changed over the 35 years with lowriders as far as like the culture or the movement in general?
I think technology more than anything. Back in the day when I first started lowriding, the technology that we used back there was pretty much backyard type of a technology, whatever we had available. Most of the parts that we were using at that particular time was recycled material. Most aircraft, we will go to different suppliers that would help us find some recycled material from the airplanes.
So a little more grassroots, and now more
Definitely.
money. How about women? Are more women involved now?
More women are involved now than back then, particularly back since the late 70s. Women started getting more involved, and they developed their own car clubs.
In Alberto, as far as the Chicano community is involved, how are lowriders perceived? Are they perceived well, or are they feared a little bit? What's the perception?
You know, I think with our documentary, we cover a 30-year period, and in the 1970s, when we see the first organized lowrider clubs, very much leaders, very much taking a lot of leadership role. But unfortunately, with a lot of the negative media, such as Boulevard Nights, it really made things very negative, a lot of tension between the police and the lowriders.
And I was going to ask you about that, because some people would link lowriders and they automatically associate gangs. Is that really true?
No, I think our film really supports the issues of family, the issues of community, the expensive amount of money that goes into these vehicles. It's about protecting the cars and actually just showing them off.
And when it comes to what you want people to take away from this, and Rigo, let me start with you. You want people to see this film. What would you like them to come out of the theater thinking or feeling?
I think more of a question as far as the roots of the movement, of the lowrider movement. The title says itself, it comes from the streets, everything comes from the streets, whereas today's scene, if you will, is more in a more corporate arena, if you will, because it's more geared towards the car show arena, whereas it's more expensive, it's more show and tell, Whereas before it was pretty much the streets. I mean, cruising was our number one thing.
As you said, it's become a big, booming, popular business now. What would you like people to take away from that? Are you pleased with that?
Oh, what I would like people to take away from it is that there's a lot of rich history, a very complicated story with reaching out to Mexico. There was a lot of big lowrider movement in Tijuana, the role of women. There was a racing team by the name of the Bean Bandits, which are featured in our film. Just a very, very rich history and something that we in San Diego should be very proud of.
Now that documentary, Everything Comes from the Streets, premieres right here on KPBS television tomorrow night, September 2nd at 8 p.m.
Good evening. I'm KPBS News Director Suzanne Marmion here with Jansen Zink. We'll be returning to KPBS Evening Edition in just a few moments, but first we'd like to explain how we're able to make this program a reality.
Now here at KPBS, less than 13% of our budget comes from the federal government. Half of our budget comes from the contributions of individuals and families across San Diego County and the Imperial Valley.
This is Fund Your Favorites Week on KPBS. Please think about how important it is to have programs like Nature, Masterpiece, Frontline, and KPBS Evening Edition available when you turn on the television.
$5 a month is a great level to start your support, and it's so easy to give. Whether you'd like to make a single contribution or set up a sustaining membership with an ongoing monthly contribution, it just takes a couple of minutes to do your part.
So do your part now. Go to kpbs.org and click Give Now or call us at 1-800-576-5727. We have some great thank you gifts available when you give. Here's more.
Become a member of KPBS right now with a contribution of $45. When you do, we'll be happy to send you the KPBS Canvas Tote Bag. Your contribution right now supports Fund Your Favorites Week on KPBS and allows us to keep our regularly scheduled shows on the air during fundraising campaigns. Your support of Fund Your Favorites Week on KPBS is so important. It allows us to keep your favorite shows in our programming schedule during fundraising campaigns. Contribute $5 a month or give $60 right now, and we will thank you with the KPBS Glass Mug. Give online at kpbs.org or call 1-800-576-5727.
We are so lucky to live in San Diego. And I don't just mean the great weather or the beaches. We live in a community where people care what goes on television. 50,000 individuals and families step up every month or every year to keep this invaluable public service going strong. From our incredible team of local reporters to the national and international news you see on KPBS and the unparalleled drama, music, science, and children's programs that you find on KPBS, all of this is only possible with the support of our viewers. Your contribution now truly matters. Please make a difference in your life. Make a difference in the lives of everyone we serve. Make your contribution now. Go to kpbs.org and click Give Now or call us at 1-800-576-5727.
There are a lot of local news programs on TV. If you're just looking for the latest happenings around town, you can turn just about anywhere. But if you want serious discussion, intelligent analysis, and in-depth investigative journalism about the issues that matter, then there's only one place to turn: KPBS. The reason for that is simple. Unlike other stations out there, we aren't beholden to corporate advertisers. We answer to the people who pay our bills, our viewers. If you appreciate the opportunity to see the kind of thoughtful reporting we offer, then take 2 minutes right now to make sure that it's well funded. Just head over to kpbs.org or call 1-800-576-5727.
The KPBS Producers Club is looking for new members, and we're inviting you to join this exciting group of KPBS supporters. Contribute $1,200 right now or sign up to become a sustaining member to make an ongoing contribution of $100 a month. You'll get a private tour of the KPBS studios and news center, invitations to exclusive Producers Club events, and the satisfaction of knowing that you're playing a significant role in the success of KPBS. Go online to kpbs.org or call 1-800-576-5727.
If you made a contribution during this break, then thank you very much.
If you didn't have a chance yet, you still have about a minute left to ensure that you're doing your part to keep KPBS Evening Edition on the air.
And now, let's go back to our show.
Falls are a leading cause of injury among older adults, and now Chicago researchers are trying to help seniors learn how to prevent falls by tripping seniors on purpose. Associated Press reporter Cindy Sharp has that story.
It's no accident. Researchers are tripping this 81-year-old woman on purpose. But Mary Kay is taking it in stride. She's learned how not to fall after too many close encounters with Chicago's crumbling sidewalks.
I fall forward and I land on my face, and it's usually quite disastrous for my face.
Falls are a leading cause of injury among the elderly, cost $30 billion a year to treat, and can spiral seniors into poor health and disability. So researchers at the University of Illinois Chicago are teaching older adults how to catch themselves in normal life by tripping them in the lab. They're outfitted in safety gear and motion sensors. In an initial study with a special walkway, participants reduced their chance of falling by 50% up to a year later.
This is all implicit learning. We don't give any instruction. They don't have to be motivated. They naturally being motivated because they don't want to be on the floor.
Professor Clive Pye says this technique stimulates the subconscious and works much faster than traditional fall prevention methods like physical therapy and exercise.
This is really a new paradigm for fall prevention.
Pye will up the ante in his next study, subjecting volunteers to a treadmill that periodically skips. With further study, he hopes the devices can help people with neurological conditions like MS and stroke that increase the risk of a fall.
You are helpless when you're out of balance and you cannot catch yourself to get back up.
Jim Chin is a stroke patient who had 3 falls in as many months and wants to regain a better sense of control, like Kay did.
You learn. Every time you fall, you learn.
While the approach may seem unconventional, it could help prevent some very serious tumbles. Cindy Sharp, Associated Press.
Some incredible works of art on display at the Broadway Pier today. Tens of thousands of people came out to see the results of a sand sculpting competition. An artist from Singapore, Ju Hang Tan, took first place. His work was titled Seed. Gordon Summer put the competition together, and he was wowed by the results of sculptor Sue McGrew's second place effort.
Solid walls with just thin little slots in it. Well, look inside the slots from all different directions, and you see 3 different phases of a woman's life. And the model, the woman, is inside the cube. How? Okay, how did she do that?
The first place trophy came with a $60,000 check. Organizers think about 50,000 people took time to view the sculptures over the weekend. You can find tonight's stories on our website. It's kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks very much for joining us. Hope you have a great evening.